For years, the truth stayed hidden, the victim forgotten, the case left cold, until science revealed what time could not. This is Decades in the Dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. March 2005. The woods outside Six Flags Great Adventure are quiet, stripped bare by winter. For most people, these woods are just a forgotten buffer between the park and the highway. But for hunters, this is prime ground, public land where the state allows licensed hunters to roam during the season. A local hunter was tracking deer that morning when something pale caught his eye in the underbrush. At first, he thought it was just a sun-bleached log. But when he stepped closer, he realized it wasn't wood at all. It was a human skull, small, fragile, burned. The hunter backed away and called authorities, his voice shaking as he tried to explain what he had stumbled upon. Investigators arrived to find scattered, charred bones. Someone had tried to destroy evidence, then left the remains here, less than a mile from a place built for laughter and joy. The media quickly dubbed her Baby Bones. The name was simple and heartbreaking. Investigators believed the victim was a girl, likely between 9 and 10 years old. But beyond that, she was a mystery. The medical examiner determined that she had died several years before her remains were found. Her bones showed no obvious trauma, no bullet wounds, no clear fractures. But the way her remains were left told its own story. Her body had been deliberately burned. The fire destroyed any soft tissue that might have held clues, clothing fibers, hair, or bruising. Someone had gone to great lengths to erase who this little girl was and what had happened to her. Detectives searched tirelessly. They combed through missing children's reports in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, anywhere a young girl might have gone missing. But no match ever surfaced. No one had reported this child missing. That fact haunted investigators almost as much as the crime itself. For years, she remained nameless. Local residents left flowers and stuffed animals at the edge of the woods. The hunter who found her returned every winter to place a single white rose where she had been found. But still, no one came forward to claim her. By 2007, leads had dried up. She was just another Jane Doe in the system, yet detectives refused to close the file. In a drawer at the state forensic lab sat a tiny envelope. Inside, bone samples carefully preserved. They were waiting for something science hadn't yet caught up to. By 2011, that moment finally came. Advances in forensic DNA testing and the growing reach of national databases offered new hope for baby bones. Detectives requested the preserved bone samples be retested, this time using more sensitive techniques capable of pulling partial DNA profiles from degraded remains. For months, the samples sat in the lab queue, and then, a hit. A partial familial match surfaced in a distant relative's DNA record. This wasn't a direct match. No one had ever uploaded Baby Bones' parents' DNA. But it was close enough to start building a genetic tree. Investigators worked backward, contacting relatives, narrowing down family lines. While one name emerged. Jon Niece Jones. She was just 9 years old when she died. A shy, soft-spoken girl from Newark, New Jersey. Her family said she loved coloring books and dreamed of becoming a teacher. But strangely, no official missing persons report had ever been filed for her. At the time of her death, her family claimed she had gone to live with other relatives. No one asked questions. No one pushed for answers. When detectives delivered the news in 2012, members of Jon Niece's extended family broke down in tears. They had spent years wondering where she was, never knowing her short life had ended so brutally. The girl once known only as Baby Bones finally had her name back. But with that answer came another question. If she wasn't missing, if no one had reported her gone, then who was responsible for her death? For years, people had imagined Baby Bones was the victim of a predator lurking near the amusement park. But the truth was far worse, and far closer to home. As detectives dug into Jon Niece Jones's family history, a disturbing picture emerged. She hadn't vanished because of a stranger. She had been living in a house filled with neglect and abuse. Investigators learned that after Jon Niece's death, likely caused by abuse or neglect, her caretakers didn't call police, didn't seek help, didn't even try to save her. Instead, they conspired to cover it up. Her aunt, Elisha Jones, admitted to helping burn Jon Niece's body in a desperate attempt to erase what had happened. Other relatives helped transport her remains to the wooded area near Six Flags, leaving her there like garbage. When questioned, they showed little emotion. To them, Jon Niece wasn't a priority. She was a problem to be hidden. In 2013, Jon Niece's aunt and 3 other family members were arrested. Some were charged with desecration of human remains, hindering apprehension, and conspiracy. Though none were convicted of murder, The court heard enough horrifying details to make it clear. Jon Niece's death was no accident. She had been failed by the very people meant to protect her. The final autopsy report shed light on Jon Niece's final moments. Her death wasn't quick. It wasn't merciful. According to investigators, Jon Niece died from a combination of severe neglect, chronic abuse, and malnourishment. She had been starved and mistreated for months before her death. This wasn't a single act of violence. It was years of suffering, hidden behind closed doors. In court, prosecutors described how, instead of seeking medical help, Jon Niece's family allowed her condition to worsen until she died. Then, they set about covering it up, burning her small body and leaving her remains in the woods, as if she were nothing. Elisha Jones, her aunt, eventually pleaded guilty of desecration of human remains and hindering apprehension. Other family members faced similar charges, with sentences ranging from probation to prison time, but no one was ever charged with murder, largely because her remains were too damaged to determine the exact cause of death. But in the eyes of the public, the truth was clear. Jon Niece had been stolen from the world not by a stranger in the shadows, but by the people who should have loved her most. Her case stands as a reminder of why forensic science matters. DNA gave her back her name, exposed her killers, and gave her a voice when she had none. Today, people still leave flowers in the woods where she was found. A small memorial marks the place where baby bones became Jon Niece again. A child who will never be forgotten. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories where justice never expires.